So last week we talked about our long spring traps and the laws on setting them, and we talked about our underspring traps and the legal size for them. Now we're moving on to our coil spring traps. Coil spring has two coil springs in the back, and it can have two in the front. How they work is they'll step on the pan, the dog will flip up, and the jaws will come up, and these levers hold the jaws. So that's a coil spring trap. When they come along, it kind of took the wind out of the sail on the underspring traps, and kind of did away with them. The other good thing about them is they got, most of them have adjustable pans. That means that bolt right there you can adjust to get the right tension you want for your trap. Talk about BMPs, best management practices. Some of your land traps, what I call land traps, you want them center swiveled. This is off to the side, so this is side swiveled. It's a 1.5, and you basically would want center swivel on your coyote fox traps. But this would be a good coon trap, 1.5. This is number 1. We'll go with that first, and it is basically 3 5/8 by 3 1/4. It's a little small trap. I'm gonna be real honest with you. There's nothing that the 1.5 can't do that this number 1. So it's pretty small. I only have a very few of these, and I use them exclusively in water for muskrat. That's about it. And it's just a little tiny small trap. A good starter trap. But if I was going to do it, I'd start off with a dozen of the 1.5s for water trapping. It's good for, you can catch coon, mink, muskrat, and people used to use it for fox all the time. But it's a good trap too, and its jaw spread is right at 4 1/4 jaw to jaw, and right at 4 1/2 on the hinge post to hinge post. So that's perfectly legal on land, but there's things called BMPs, which is best management practices. And when you have land traps, you kind of want to offset them. And that's the 1.5. Now we move on to this is a Bridger 165. So it's a little bit bigger than the 1.5. And its jaw spread is basically 4 3/4, and hinge post to hinge post is about 4 1/2. Let's get that a little over 4 1/2, more like 4 3/4. So just a little bit bigger than the 1.5. It's a good fox trap, and this one is center swiveled and base plated, but it is it's not offset. But this is a great little fox trap. If that's all you were getting, you could probably catch a coyote in it, but it is not offset. So then we move on to the 1 3/4. So this one is a Bridger 1 3/4. And you can see it's a square jaw, and it's right at 4 3/4 on jaw to jaw, and about 4 3/4 on the hinge post to hinge post. And great little fox trap. You could catch a coyote in it. Might get it beat up a little bit, but it still work. So on these, it's center swiveled, base plated, and it's got the offset, 1/8 inch offset right there, if you can see it. That covers your BMPs, basically. Now this is the same trap, but it's been modified. What I mean by modified is if you look right there, they've put a piece of basically metal to beef up the, it's a laminate. It beefs up that jaw a little bit, so it makes it thicker. That's another BMP you can use to help with the animal's leg getting in there. Gives it a little more space to hold on to it. And this is all about animal comfort, and that's where BMPs come from. Basically handcuffed, and that makes it a nicer handcuff. So that's a square jaw bridger, same as this one, just has the laminate on top. This one is 1 3/4. It's a round jaw. It's a Duke 1 3/4. When I bought it, it was standard jaw. In some traps, you can go online and buy the jaws and just replace the jaws. Not all traps you can do that with, but some of them you can. And I base plated this one. Not very good welding, but I base plated this one and center swiveled it and put the offset on it. And this has kind of got a raised edge like a lamination, so it's a good little trap too. Fox, coyote. You can catch a coon. I will say I had a coon pull out of one of my 1 3/4 last year, so you'll have that too. Now we move on to our number 2. This is a Bridger number 2. Like I say, I like buying old traps, and so I bought this, and it had standard jaws, so I got new jaws for it, offset, and then I put what they call a posi trip pan, which that's what that is, and made it a better trap. I probably got $5-6 in this trap, which you know, that's probably a, I don't know, probably a $15 trap. And you can make deals if you're willing to work on them. And that's a number 2. And that's good for coyote, fox, coon, anything we got in Indiana. This is the same trap, but I bought it fully modified. I think it was like $19-20 fully modified, and that has the laminations on top and center swivel, base plated, so that's basically fully modified. The other thing I do with my coyote and fox traps, I run these JC Connor springs and a lot of swiveling points. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4 crunch proof swivels and 2 swiveling points on each of those. So you've got like 7 swivel points. Basically that keeps the animal from pulling, and you won't pump up a stake. It gives it plenty of room to swivel so it won't hurt itself. It's all around better trap with those JC Connor springs, and I've got them on all the ones I use for coyote and fox. But that's number 2. Now they go up bigger sizes. I just don't have any. They have a number 3 and number 4. I do have a number 4 Duke, but it's standard jaw and it's only for water. So you go to the next series. Is the manufacturers started naming their traps a little more closer to what they really are. So this is a 550, which that means it's about, if you look inside jaw, it's about 4 3/4. So it's not much bigger than your 1. It's not any bigger than your 1 3/4. Where it gets bigger is your 6 1/8 from post to post. So this would have to be offset on land. So it's 550. So some of the manufacturers started naming their traps a little differently now. 550, 650, 750. You got to watch, because even though it says 650 with an offset, so 6 1/2 inches, you could use that on land, but you still have to measure from post to post. And in Indiana, the Dukes, the 650s, they sell in like Real King, places like that. They're not, we can't use them in the state of Indiana because the measurement from post to post is too big. You'd have to use them in water. And so 550s are probably the best you got in Indiana. Same thing, shock spring. Got good wire, number 2 chain, crunch proof swivels. MB 550 is probably the Cadillac of it. Most people like it more than any of them. They're most talked about, but they're a snappy little trap. So that's your coil springs. And most of your 550s, your number 2s, they're good for coyote. You can use them all day for coyote. Your 1 3/4, they're good for fox. You can catch the occasional coyote. But I'd be running your shock springs, and they may get beat up. They'll bite on it, bend some stuff. Just have to bend it back. Your 165s, good for fox. 1 1/2s, good for all your land or your water animals. And that's basically it all on the land traps that I use. And that's it for measuring. That's our coil springs. Thanks for watching.